whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Colorado has just ruled Donald Trump ineligible for the state's primary ballot. This sets up a likely Supreme Court showdown. Sharon Crowley's in the newsroom with those details. Sharon.
Yeah, it certainly sets the stage for now for more legal battles. Trump's team promising to bring this case before the U.S. Supreme Court. Whatever the outcome, it's a blow to the Republican frontrunner's campaign, one the former president plans to weather.
The key is you have to get out and vote.
Former President Donald Trump campaigning in Iowa just after Colorado's state Supreme Court disqualified him from the 2024 primary ballot for his role in the January 6 assault on the U.S. Capitol. Colorado's highest court overturned a ruling from a lower district court that found Trump had incited an insurrection, but could not be barred from the state ballot.
Everyone is expecting Trump to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. I think most odds makers would say that the U.S. Supreme Court, one, will take this case, and two, will reverse it.
David Katz is a former assistant U.S. attorney and now a criminal defense lawyer in Beverly Hills. Colorado is a blue state, so Katz thinks the U.S. Supreme Court would rule the decision to make Trump ineligible to be on the Colorado state ballot was politically motivated.
A lot of people think that it won't stand up in the U.S. Supreme Court because they'll see it as a political question and one that the federal courts, the U.S. Supreme Court, should not get involved in.
Trump, who remains the Republican frontrunner, lost Colorado by 13 percentage points in 2020 and doesn't need the state to win next year's presidential election. But the danger for the former president is that more courts and election officials will follow Colorado's lead and exclude Trump from must-win states, potentially setting up for more legal battles. Whatever the ultimate outcome, Democratic strategist Basil Smikle says the decision by Colorado's state Supreme Court is damaging to Trump's campaign.
So the political ramifications is significant. Even if he manages to stay on the ballot, you're going to have all of his opponents saying, look at what the court has actually said. It's not just something that you can sweep under the rug anymore.
And we're getting reaction tonight from Trump's campaign. They call the decision flawed, and they vow to file an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, adding they believe the high court will put an end to what they are referring to as un-American lawsuits.
I got to say this. What's up, family? Welcome to another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays, the hottest live stream here on YouTube. Oh, I'm all decked out in black. We gangster up in here on Random Topic Thursdays. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Greetings, greetings. Welcome to another exciting edition of Random Topic Thursdays. And I want to bring in our guest, Shawn James, in a minute. I want you, first and foremost, before I do that, I need you to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Smash up the like, smash up the like, smash up the likes. Also, hit that notification bell if you are new to this channel. So when we go live, you'll know that we are live, and I'm coming at you with 5. If you're watching on X, YouTube via Gavin Richard or gboot2786, or if you're watching on Facebook, welcome. So you saw that. There's a bunch of topics we're going to get into tonight, including that. Well, I'm going to start with that. But first, ladies and gentlemen, and lastly, ask for donations necessarily, but if you love me for my time, pay me for my time. And bringing Christmas greetings all the way from the Boogie Down Bronx, we have none other than the author extraordinaire, author of the book, the John Haynes series, The Man with Nothing to Lose, as well as The Man Crisis and Woman Crisis, Mr. Shawn James. Good evening, Shawn. How we doing tonight?
Good evening, Gavin. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine, my brother. I'm doing good. Couldn't be better. You have any plans for Christmas?
Oh, just making dinner for my family. That's all.
Anything you want for Christmas? A gift?
Not really this year. I've got everything I wanted.
You got everything you wanted? What did you
Yeah,
get?
I can't tell you. It's the surprise from the family, but I got a lot of stuff that I wanted.
Okay. I got a couple of things coming my way and some stuff got. I don't know for sure. Um, I wanted the Saints for the Super Bowl, but it looks like that may not happen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, this coach and quarterback stink, and right now the Rams are kicking their behind. Oh well, I really shouldn't follow sports. I follow sports, but I really don't want to put my emotions into it. I don't think it's wise, especially when you watch how the referees will act for one team and versus the other. Like some of the calls they get, it makes you think that we're in the WWE. So,
Yeah.
well, I shouldn't say that we are, because I mean we played the Rams actually in the NFC Championship, and it was a clear. I'm sure you even did you even see it, because it was in the news everywhere.
Well, I know that there's a fix in with a lot of these
There's
NFL games. It's like WWE.
a clear pass interference call. Yeah. But what I want for Christmas from you all too is also if you would buy Be My Baby for Christmas. That's available on iTunes. It's the new song that's out, Be My Baby for Christmas by G Rich. And you don't use the C, you use the little cent symbol for the C. That's me. All right. Uh Shawn, let's talk about the main story. Donald Trump has been banned out in Colorado. The Supreme Court of Colorado ruled that Trump's name should be removed from the ballot for the 2024 election. He is the clear front runner, obviously, for the Republican Party, although it hasn't come down to that as of yet. More than likely, I think he's going to get the nomination. But Colorado is not alone. In New York as well, they're actually planning. Lawmakers are trying to push for a law to keep Trump off the ballot. And you're up in New York, and New York, of course, is a very Democratic state. Colorado is a Democratic state. Here's the thing: Trump didn't even carry those states. The Electoral Colleges is what gets the presidency, not the popular vote. And they're even saying there's at least 16 other states currently having pending legal challenges to Trump's eligibility for office under the 14th Amendment. Now, I want to know, Shawn, and here are they've got 4 different lawsuits. At least 16 states are currently having pending legal challenges to his eligibility under the 14th Amendment, according to a database maintained by Lawfare, a nonpartisan site dedicated to national security issues. The lawsuits argue that he is barred because he engaged in an insurrection with his actions surrounding the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021. 4 of these lawsuits in Michigan, Oregon, New Jersey, and Wisconsin have been filed in state courts. 11 lawsuits in Alaska, Arizona, Nevada, New York, New Mexico, South Carolina, Texas, Vermont, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming have been filed in federal district courts. Shawn, do you see this being a problem for Mr. Trump, or do you think this might be something that will backfire? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what do you make of this, that they're banning a former president on the ballot?
I don't think this is going to be any trouble for Donald Trump at all. It's just political theater, because if these are states he didn't win in the 2016 or 2020 election, I doubt that this phases him at all, because this whole ruling can be overturned in the Supreme Court easily. And basically, this is just political theater to try to demonize Donald Trump And it's one of the biggest tactical errors the left continues to make as related to Donald Trump. They keep making the same mistake that many fathers do with the daughter who was dating a bad boyfriend. They keep giving Donald Trump more attention, and the more attention they give him makes him more sympathetic and makes people want to go and desire him even more and support him even further. So all they're doing is galvanizing Donald Trump's base and making people question the credibility of those who are challenging him, further eroding the base for Joe Biden, whose approval rating is at an all-time low at this point and is not really looking like a strong candidate because he keeps attacking Donald Trump instead of going and building a platform of things that he accomplished to sell himself. That's always been the tactic that undermines the so-called nice guy as related to the bad boyfriend. He always tries to point out the bad points about the bad boy, and that only makes him appear to be more stronger because the guy is not talking about what he has to offer. And in the case of Joe Biden, he doesn't have much to offer because his economy is completely dysfunctional. His record is not about the American people. He's done more for Ukraine and Israel and every other country and migrants than Americans. And these attacks on Donald Trump just make him that much stronger and make his position even stronger because it makes him into a martyr if they go out here and get him banned. And that makes people more interested in wanting to vote for him that possibly wouldn't have voted for him. And getting him off a primary ballot doesn't get him off a general election ballot. And even if they do get him off this primary ballot, the general election is the one that he will wind up winning in the end, because by the time all of this court theatrics is settled, what's going to happen is that people are going to start looking at the left and looking at all the tactics that they're using to get Donald Trump off the ballot and start saying, hey, these guys are seeming like candidates we can't trust. So they're digging their own grave and don't even
talking
know
about what they can do. They're talking about somebody that's not even in office. Like everything
Yeah.
out of their mouth is Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald
Yeah,
Trump.
it's like they're obsessed with this man instead of saying, okay, what do we have to offer? And this is where they're going to dig their own grave. It's like everything is Trump, Trump, Trump. But we want to hear, what do you have to offer? And the thing is that you've already alienated a lot of voter blocks. You've alienated young people. You've definitely alienated Black people back in 2020. So you're losing a lot of bases. And attacking Donald Trump just makes him that much stronger and makes it where you're going to lose this election if you keep on escalating things.
Yeah. I saw his approval rating was at a record low 27%.
Now, I think that's what that one I saw was 38 or 37%, but he has dropped like a rock and he's not doing well.
No, he's not doing well, and I think it's going to backfire on the Democrats. When you keep going after something, you keep poking this thing over and over again. You know, you're drilling on a dry well, essentially, and you're coming up with rocks. You're not hitting anything.
Nope.
You keep doing this over and over again. We're hitting a dead end, and everybody. I think this is going to motivate people to vote for Donald Trump. First off, and I mean, the Democratic Party has basically, in my eyes, been on the wrong foot for the last. Well, for me personally, I would say 4 years since Biden has been in office, but I'll go further back.
I'll go back 8 years. They have been.
I'll go back to Obama.
Yeah.
You know, and the stuff that was happening to Black people in this country with these police shootings, these unjustified killings, we had, especially the 2008 crash that Biden and Obama supported these bankers who had predatory loans against Black families, brown families as well. All of that stuff affected us, and Black people came out in droves to vote for this president. Now, when they didn't get anything, it didn't end up like they wanted. It's gone poof. They have no interest in voting. That's why the voting numbers are down. You know,
he did nothing for anyone. Obama.
No, but what I'm saying is that also, yeah, they did nothing for you, and then on top of that, they want you to still vote for them when they've done nothing for you. Stevie Wonder said he was, and I don't look to Stevie as a politician, but Stevie Wonder has put work in, and he has also complained and wanted to have a serious meeting with Joe Biden about the black community. And Biden wouldn't meet with him. That's the point.
He's
Yeah.
tone deaf and out of touch. And
They're out of touch. But he said this, Shawn, when he got elected, those NAACP with that those Negro leaders like Mark Morial, Al Sharpton. Remember they were on that conference call and he tore them up?
Yep.
And talked to them like kids. You better talk to the Hispanics because they're going to outnumber you. This is what he said. That's what they think. That's why they have this open door policy right now in America where all of these migrants are flooding in. They think that all of them are going to vote Democrat and support them, and it's actually going to backfire.
Yep, because they go Republican once they get their kids here.
Yeah, they're conservative. They're very conservative. All right. But you don't see this going anywhere. What about in New York, Shawn, the buzz I'm hearing, they're trying to pass a new law to keep him off the ballot there. Do you have any thoughts about what's going on in New York?
That's going to backfire on them as well because right now the Blue Party ain't doing too well in New York, and trying to get him off a primary ballot doesn't really impact here because the New York primaries, usually that's a lock for Donald Trump anyway if it's on the Republican side. And with the primaries themselves, again, they really don't matter because if he's got the nomination locked up, where he's got 40, 50-point leads, he doesn't really need a lot of states to get that number of delegates. So all of these efforts to try to undermine Donald Trump actually just make him stronger nationally. And these guys are so caught up in the little pictures they have, thinking that they can flex a little power. They can't see again that they're making the man stronger nationally and even driving support towards him because they look at Biden's policies here in New York as related to the migrant crisis created by the cream of wheat man, Eric Adams. And they're looking at this. And again, it's making him stronger. So every effort to attack Donald Trump just makes him that much stronger. And if these guys would just keep his name out of their bleeping mouths, maybe they might have a chance, but they're too obsessed with him to keep his name out of their mouths.
Yeah. It's going to backfire. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit the notification bell. We are live, and I'm coming at you with 5. For those wondering, I'm actually in here in my living room. I'm not in the studio tonight. I got the house to myself right now, and I just figured I'd come in here where I wouldn't have any Wi-Fi issues, and we're going good. So far, we got 19 people on, but honestly, I don't think those numbers are accurate because, they always put that little shadow ban on you. Might have more people watching than we are. I've had people come up. There have been people that before have come up to me saying, "Oh, I enjoyed the show," once or twice. So you never know who's watching, Shawn.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
That's what I run into. I run into people who watch my videos all the time.
Yeah. Let me just ask you off before I get back on topics, because we talked about Christmas and your family. Is Christmas big in your household? Do y'all have like a tree and do anything like that?
It's big, but we don't have a tree anymore because it costs a lot of money.
The artificial tree, or you used to get a real one?
We used to use artificial trees. They were really expensive. They're like They were $80 back in the 80s.
We had an artificial tree. At one time when it got too old, we just started using a real one, and now I got another artificial tree. But that one broke on me this year.
Oh,
After a decade.
They're not made to last.
No, they're made so you can go back and buy more. That's the goal of it. So instead of taking it down, all I did was just have I had some old Christmas lights that still work, and I just wrapped it around it because I had already decorated it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be necessary to take it down and put a new tree. But I mean, even the real trees can be expensive. If you go to one of these Christmas tree farms, and I guess the best part about it is you get to do that with your family and create some memory. But
yeah,
that shit is over $100.
Yeah, it was way more than that in the 80s. The tree itself back in the 80s was like $80, and then you had to spend a bit more on the ornaments and the lights.
I'd rather buy a bouquet of roses and just put like a bulb on it. We're gonna do that, but damn, yeah. But yeah, the artificial trees, yeah, they were nice. Bet you had that flocked one, huh?
Yep.
That old silver one, yeah.
Well, we never had those. We had the green ones.
The green ones, okay, yeah. Well, that's cool too. My grandmother used to get a real flock tree. I still have memories of that. I went with them, an actual real live flock tree at her house. And one Christmas, we actually decorated our own tree. We flocked it, and those weren't hard to do. You had like a flocker kit. You could get a shop vac and do it. Yeah, it's fun, man. I'm just thinking of my family, Those are fun times.
Yeah.
But yeah. Shawn, next topic I want to talk about who we got in the chat. First off, Danielle Maya. Shout out to Danielle. Shout out to Cheryl the Pearl Monroe. I bet she played basketball. Mamiko is here in the building. He says, "What up, Gavin, Shawn James, in the B1 for community." Shawn, I'm going to talk about this a little bit closer, but I want to discuss this because I'm Catholic myself. I grew up in the Catholic faith, so I got to address this sooner or later because this was big news that apparently the Pope, through an encyclical that he's given with his syndicate, with his advocates, those that are his advisors, he has announced that, and of course, this went international, because the Catholic Church is the oldest Christian denomination on the earth. And it traces its roots back to St. Peter. And Peter is considered the first pope. Now, he basically allowed, and I'm putting it in quotes. Now, it doesn't say this actually in the encyclical, but he allowed basically for priests to bless some alternative lifestyles. And I think you already know what I'm talking about when I say that. Right? And it's causing a great division among Catholics. I can tell you that amongst cardinals, especially the cardinals in Nigeria. And I'll get to that in a second. But I want to show you something, because this is how national media works. They're so excited about this. They had a hard on when they saw this. I want you to look at this and watch this video, family, and they run with stuff like this. But basically, he's saying that in certain situations, priests can bless same-sex couples or people that have different lifestyles. Now, I'm going to explain to you why that's an issue, especially in the church, okay? And FYI, this is not hate speech. I know FYI, it is not hate speech. But people will take it that way. I want you to look at this. This is, I guess, the Canadian Broadcasting Company. Now, this is 1 minute and 53 seconds. I want you to watch this, man, but look at the likes to dislikes. Now, this was from October 3rd. All right?
Jesus is someone who is for the people in the margins.
As a gay man and practicing Catholic, Mark Guevara sometimes has had crises of faith, but he's encouraged by comments from Pope Francis on same-sex unions.
Having the blessing of the church means that the church walks with people like myself who are in relationships.
He's referring to Francis's response to conservative cardinals that some same-sex unions could be open to a blessing if there was pastoral prudence, and that they not necessarily become a norm, meaning they could be done on a case-by-case basis, says this Vatican expert.
Change happens really quite slowly at the Vatican. So this is an important statement, and it's a deeply significant statement, but it's going to take a long time to figure out what the ramifications of it are.
Underscoring
that was only 2 months ago. It ain't that long.
That complexity, Francis reiterated church doctrine that same-sex relationships are objectively sinful, but he also said the church must do more than just deny, reject, and exclude. A welcome message for many.
There has been many instances of violence against gay people, and the LGBTQ people community have been under attack. And a statement like this from the Pope, I think, does tremendous good in hopefully calming down these feelings.
Others want him to go further.
Right now, same-sex couples cannot receive the sacrament of marriage. Right now, gay men are told that they can't enter the priesthood.
Many issues of equality will soon be discussed by the church. A major, nearly month-long meeting to outline the Catholic Church's future is set to begin at the Vatican.
I want everybody to understand something, because I know most of our people who are on this timeline are not Catholic. I grew up in a church. I have experience with it. Oh, I'm treading lightly, Danielle. Nothing I'm saying is hateful. I know how to. This was news everywhere. So I want to explain a couple of things. All right. You heard the last commenter. He said right now they can't marry. Gay couples can't. Same-sex couples can't marry. They can't enter the priesthood. There's a reason for that. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, which has been based in doctrine through the gospel, through 2,000 years of church teaching, through the apostles, have made it clear that homosexuality is considered a sin. Homosexual acts, I should say. They are in the Catechism of the Church, from what I've read. They described it as intrinsically disordered, and under no circumstances they can be approved. Am I right, Shawn? That's I don't know if you've ever read that, but that is in the book. But that's been the teaching for 2,000 years. And other religions, Judaism, Islam, they have even followed foot and said it's not acceptable, especially in Islam. If you go into the West, into that part of the world, and you say you're gay, they'll throw you off of a building. You know that?
I know that.
They'll stone you to death. They don't ever go at them, but they go at the Christian church. They go at Catholics for a reason, because it is the oldest and largest denomination in the world. That is a fact. And it is also the one that people go to for moral authority. Granted, there's a scandal that's going on, and they have had an influx, and the guy mentioned there are no gay priests, but believe it or not, they got a lot of gay priests in there. They just don't say it openly. That goes on a lot. But that was, and you saw the likes to dislikes in here. So a lot of people aren't in favor of it. But when you say I'm going to administer a blessing, okay, for us as Catholics, how we get a blessing, and let me be clear, when we talk about hate speech, this is not hate teaching, this is love teaching. What I know, especially when we want to receive a blessing, like we celebrate the sacrament of the Eucharist, okay? Sacrament of the Eucharist, at the time of consecration, the priest turns the bread and wine into the body and blood of Jesus Christ. That's what we believe. That's what I know. And if you're in a state of mortal sin, you can't receive communion. That is not just for homosexuals, that's for heterosexuals as well. So that's not discrimination against a group. You just can't do it. I can't bless two if you married and shack up with two people, you can't get married in a church. But is that what it's coming to? Is the Pope going to bless that? Are priests allowed to bless that? And it's going to create confusion. It already has. The Nigerian cardinals, who are Catholic, they announced in a letter under no circumstances on any priest to bless that. So they're actually challenging the Pope. Other cardinals have spoken out against it as well. Bishops have spoken out against it. So I'm going to get to your opinion, Shawn. But what I was talking about is, and you can just go read it for yourselves. It hasn't. So he's saying in one group you can bless it. At the same time, he's also saying it's a sin. So it doesn't make sense, Shawn.
Well, it's like to me
It's
that he's trying.
contradicting in terms.
He's trying to reconcile things that are of the sinful world with the word of God, and he's putting himself in a bad place as I see it. I mean,
Well, let me finish this point, Shawn, before you get deep. What we say, what the church teaching, I got to be specific on marriage and on human sexuality. They state anything outside of marriage between a man and a woman is considered sinful. So even two heterosexuals, a man and a woman, not married, living under one roof like they're a married couple, that is considered a sin. That doesn't make me a heterophobe. Does that make you a heterophobe if you say that's a sin?
No, it doesn't.
No. And same thing with, now, yeah, people do it because it's popular. Same thing with adulterers, people outside of marriage. That's also considered sinful. All of us have fallen short of the grace of God. And I'm not about judging, but I'm giving facts. And I know what's right and what's wrong. And so I have the catechism of the church. If people want to read it, you can. But I'm specifically looking at what it teaches on marriage. You can even read it. It says, in the Latin Rite, the celebration of marriage between two Catholic faithful normally takes place during her Holy Mass because of the connection of all the sacraments with the Paschal mystery of Christ. In the Eucharist, the memorial of the new covenant is realized. The new covenant is which Christ has united himself forever to the church, his beloved bride for whom he gave himself up. So the bride, the Catholic Church, is the bride of Christ. It is therefore fitting that spouses should seal their consent to give themselves to each other through the offering of their own lives by uniting it to the offering of Christ for his church, made present in the Eucharistic sacrifice, and by receiving the Eucharist, so that communicating in the same body and the same blood of Christ, they may form but one body in Christ. Now that's the sacrament of marriage. We also have blessings. And let me say this, gay people can get blessed. It's called sacrament of reconciliation. It's like I get blessed. When I go into reconciliation and confess my sins, the priest forgives me, absolution. That's a blessing. If I'm in a state of sin and I can't receive communion, I put my hands on my chest like this and then anoint you on your forehead. That's a blessing. I don't see, and Shawn, you can continue. How do you bless something that you're saying is sinful? And yes, you do have to respect people, but at the same time, their actions is what they considered sinful. It's the act, right? Not the person. You love the sinner, but not the sin, supposedly. So anybody can get a blessing already, but why are you saying couples and lifestyles? And I got a question. Can this be polygamous as well? Go ahead, Shawn.
Well, it sounds like to me that the Pope is trying to appease the people and not really looking to keep the word of God that he has been given to maintain. And he's not really being a good steward of the word. And he's making a compromise too with men that's going to affect him spiritually, because this kind of thing is the kind of thing that the Most High has an issue with as related to people. I mean, if he says in his word that something is not right, then it's not right. And it's not right for him to go and try to put a blessing on something that he says is sin, because that's blasphemy when you really think about it. And you are supposed to fear the Lord more than we fear men. And it looks like to me that the Pope is fearing men more than the Lord. So I don't know. This is a leadership issue where the steward has been compromised. And it's a really serious one as related to faith, because if you're going outside of the word of God, you're going to have to answer to the Most High at the end of the day. And that's the thing you don't want to answer to, because He's the one who is the final judge who can mete out the final judgment. So I'm looking at this whole situation, and he's looking to serve Mammon more than God. And this could be a bad situation for the Pope overall.
And this is on MSNBC. So this is recent. I just want to show everybody this right quick.
14 past the hour breaking news from the Vatican.
I already know
Pope Francis has approved a landmark ruling that will allow Catholic priests to administer blessings to same-sex couples as long as they are not part of regular church rituals or liturgies. NBC's Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome. Claudio, what more can you tell us about this decision?
Hi, Jose. Well, this was officialized in a document that was sent out about a couple of hours ago from the Vatican's very powerful doctrine office. Essentially, in there, it says that from now on, Catholic priests around the world are allowed to bless same-sex couples, provided, as you mentioned in your intro, that they are not mistaken or confused with an actual marriage, which in the eyes of the Catholic Church can only happen between a man and a woman. Now,
okay, then why bless it? What's the purpose of it? If you bless something, you're recognizing it. A marriage is blessed. A marriage is a covenant. So why are you blessing? I'm just trying to figure it out. Look, what people do outside the church, that's their business. I can't control that. But why in the church? Why are you blessing it? Can I bless? Can I have 3 wives and I get that blessed? What's the purpose of it?
This comes with a couple of conditions. It is still related to this fact that it shouldn't be confused with a marriage. Well, first of all, it says that the blessing cannot happen at the same time as a civil union, and also that during this blessing, the blessing cannot be accompanied with some rituals like clothing or gestures or words that are more proper to an actual marriage. Still, despite these conditions, this comes as a major breakthrough for the LGBTQ plus community, especially Catholic LGBTQ plus around the world, even though this is not entirely surprising, because this is exactly what Pope Francis said at the beginning of October this year, when he responded to a letter written to him by 5 conservative cardinals who challenged him to be open to describe what the actual Catholic Church
all right. I'm not going to play all of it.
teaching on homosexuality is right now. That came before.
All right. So they're all excited about this. But I can tell you, and I just want to show you this, the Cardinals they responded from Kenya and Nigeria, and this is what they had to say.
Here is your latest Africa news. Kenya and Nigerian Catholic bishops reject Pope's command to bless gay marriages. Pope Francis's authorization for Catholic priests to offer blessings to same-sex couples is not being received well in Africa. Kenyan and Nigerian Catholic bishops have both issued official statements regarding Pope Francis's decision to allow Roman Catholic priests to bless same-sex couples. The defiant Kenyan bishops maintain that the Church's understanding of marriage as a sacrament between a man and a woman remains unchanged despite Pope Francis's announcement. While the Catholic bishops in Nigeria stated that blessings or celebrations of same-sex unions are against God's law and are considered sacrilegious within the Catholic faith, the bishops argued that every nation has a right to self-determination of its laws and cultural values. They called for respectful dialogue while upholding their view that same-sex blessings cannot be permitted within the Catholic Church in Nigeria. The bishop said that the declaration recently made by the Pope allowing priests to bless same-sex couples is not the same as blessing same-sex marriages. Francis's openness to LGBTQ Catholics has been an element in the opposition he has faced from many African churches. His latest move on blessings is likely to face even more resistance in these quarters.
So they're not standing for it. Now you go to Australia, you go to some European nations, they may be, some of them are a little open, but although some are not. But I can tell you, Shawn, if you've ever followed, and I don't know if you ever followed Catholic prophecy, but I'm reminded of what happened in the late 14th, 15th century there is an apparition of our Blessed Mother, the Virgin Mary, where she talked about by the 20th century how there would be a crisis in faith, how there would be basically the sacrament of matrimony will be obliterated, will mean nothing. She talked about how there would be a corruption of the family, a corruption of the innocents, and you see that today. She also said it in Fatima. She also said it in Our Lady of Akita, Japan. She said they would see cardinal versus cardinal, bishop versus bishop. Are we not seeing that with this?
Nope. Yes, we are. We're seeing that.
Yeah. But they will say you're a hater if you speak out against this stuff. My position of it is that while I'm not in a position to judge, and I'm not judging, like I say again, when you want, obviously there's a reason why they go to the church for this, and because they know that, as I stated before, as it's the moral authority, they want their relationships normalized. Right? That's essentially what that is.
That's what they want.
And they want it blessed to say that it's accepted in society. And that is accepted by God. But, all I'll just say is what's written is written. And we see things in nature. But I'm not going to go any further because they're going to say this is hate speech. This video going to get taken down for speaking against I'm speaking against the wrong people. I had my channel shadow banned and taken down because I made fun of Shannon Sharpe and called him a LeBron sexual. And that got me banned.
Well, the alphabets, everything offends them.
I'm talking about LeBron James. It ain't got nothing to do with gay people. It didn't have nothing with them. But you have anything more on this, Shawn, you want to say?
No, I don't want you to get flagged, so I'm not going to say anything else.
You can say it. Just
all I'm going to say is I follow the Bible, and what this Pope is proposing is outside of the Bible. So he's going to have to take account with the Most High on this, and he's going to have to deal with the Most High either on earth or at the seat of the judgment.
Well, they say even the bishops and priests get judged harsher by God because they lead the flock.
Yep.
And if they do something, yeah. I mean, all of us got something we got to answer for God. So, but this is something I never thought. This is something I never thought I would see. A priest saying, a pope saying that.
Well, that shows you how the church has been compromised.
Well, yeah, it has. It's been, and another thing too, I'll add to this, Shawn. A lot of the churches are losing the churches, and it's not just the Catholic churches, churches across the country. They're losing younger people. They're losing members. People are no longer going to church as much.
Well, that's because of the fruits that they're bearing. They're bearing thorns and briars. They're not putting an example of Christ, and without their example, people have no incentive to go to the church to follow them.
Well, that too, but what I was going to say is the sex abuse scandal also.
Yeah, that was a major part of it, but again, they're not following an example.
Well, yeah, well, let me finish. But what I'm saying though is that they've had to close several churches, like here in New Orleans area. Recently, they announced they were closing several of them because they're not getting enough members, but they're not getting enough money, which is ultimately boils down to is everything is about money. And these lawsuits have made them file for bankruptcy here in the Archdiocese of New Orleans.
Now, here in New York, we had a whole bunch of Catholic schools closed as a result of that.
That's happening too.
And you would think you would want to deal with these perverted deviants, but no, they don't want to do that. So they're getting ready to implode their own church.
Well, unfortunately. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of Me Too, did you get the news today? I got to point this out. What happened to Vin Diesel? Shawn?
Yeah, I heard about it. I just read about it. His assistant is suing him for alleged sexual harassment.
Sexual battery.
Yeah.
In 2010.
Yeah. With no police report.
No police report, no medical report. This happened in 2010. She said she went out, he held her against her will and masturbated on her. In part, but also that he held her down and started groping her breast in a hotel room while his sister and eventually her sister fired her because she was no longer useful.
And she doesn't go to the police.
The sister's name is Asta Jonason.
Yeah.
Asta Jonason. And yeah, so this was in 2010. She said it happened in Atlanta. They were filming the Fast Five, and I do remember that was when that came out around that time. They filed this in federal court. I don't know if she filed it in federal court, but the lawsuit against him was filed today, alleging that he sexually battered her in 2010 and that she was fired from her job hours later. This is the Diddy. This is the, I would say, well, you know what? This is the Bill Cosby effect. Even for the tragic mulattoes, I should say.
They're all black.
They're all black. Vin Diesel, I know he's never actually, he's been racially ambiguous. Let's put it that way. He's been like Jason Kidd. And I'm saying that because I remember they were asking him what was his makeup and he would never say, in part because he didn't want to, and we were actually talking about this when we were teenagers in high school once. He got his first big break in a Steven Spielberg movie, Saving Private Ryan. He played one of the soldiers that goes with Tom Hanks's unit to find Ryan, right? Yep. I don't know if you remember that. So he got his first big break, that role. And, you know, they weren't putting brothers in that movie. Not to play the heroes. And yeah, and so Vin Diesel, he's made this name for himself in Hollywood. He's actually had the Riddick series outside of I'm talking about outside of Fast and Furious. They have the next Fast and Furious coming up, I think. Is it next year? In 2024, they just shot, I think, Fast X came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you think it's a Me Too? Someone said, Tyree said it's a Me Too scam.
It's a cash grab.
Yeah, well, this is a Diddy effect because if you think about it, now read this paragraph from the lawyer. It says sexual harassment. I want y'all to read this shit. Sexual harassment in the workplace will never stop if powerful men are protected from accountability. We hope her courageous decision to come forward helps create lasting change and empowers other survivors. Now, she said, now I want you to pay very close attention to that. So you see this? Sexual harassment in the workplace. Now, what does that mean? She was hired by him and fired. So what does that trigger? Like with Diddy and his lawsuit with Cassie, this is going to trigger employer-employee improper relationship, i.e. insurance companies. Vin Diesel's company. Not just Vin Diesel the person, but Vin Diesel the business owner. His sister. The insurance companies that represent them. Guess what? They're all going to do what happened with, it's called comparative fault. Everybody is going to be solidarily liable. So now the insurance companies, because they don't want to be a part of the lawsuit, they're going to likely settle. So she filed this in Los Angeles. or did she file it in Georgia?
I don't know.
Having some trouble
It's in
with
Los
my
Angeles. She
computer.
followed it in Los
Can y'all see
Angeles.
me?
Yeah, I can see. I can
Oh,
see.
he's screwed. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
having a
she's
little
going
issue.
for a cash grab.
Well, Shawn, talk about it for a minute while I get my battery, please.
All right. Well, this whole case basically is a cash grab for the insurance companies. And what this woman is trying to do is trying to get a settlement from the insurance company, similar to what happened with the women who were filing lawsuits against Bill Cosby. They don't want to deal with Bill Cosby themselves. What they want to deal with is the insurance company, hoping to get a cash settlement out of the deal. And that's what a lot of these women are trying to do in these cases. What they're trying to do is get themselves a cash settlement to take care of themselves in their older age. Now, they possibly know that if this case was taken to criminal court, the entire case would fall completely apart. And it would fall apart partially due to the fact that these women basically don't have any evidence 10 almost 13 years later, and they also would fall apart because if they went and put up these statements and they were challenged in court, they would be convicted of perjury. So that's why they're going to civil court instead of criminal court, because they know that in the civil court the insurance companies will try to settle things before everything goes to court. But the ultimate damage that's going to be done here, as related to this allegation, is it's going to give men pause before they approach women or even hire women, because with each of these incidents, it makes it where these women are a liability. Because if you're going to go and dig up some dirt from 10, 13 years ago, as related to an alleged incident, it makes it where people can't trust you. And when I look at this whole case, I just have to wonder if Vin Diesel did all this, then why didn't she go to court in 2011 and file a criminal case? And again, I go back to my statement originally. The reason why she didn't go to the criminal court is because she knows that if she went to criminal court, she'd have to have hard evidence. And if she made statements that she knew weren't true, she could be caught up in perjury. So this whole incident here basically is one that I see as just another case that's going to alienate a lot of people, like has happened with the Me Too movement, the Adult Survivors Act, and is going to make the social marketplace one where we're going to just see all women all the time, and it's going to be something where we see women really regretting how they've gone out here and alienated relationships between men and women.
Well, here's the thing, Shawn. He's been. It's a different burden of proof. Even if she testified in a civil trial and she lied, she testifies under oath she's committing perjury. If that were to, if what she's saying is not true, yes, it's a much different burden of proof. What we're seeing is this believe all women aftermath, and that's what you're getting, in my honest opinion, from this. And it's happening everywhere now. And the main thing of speaking of the Diddy effect, I want to talk about this now. We can just tie it in. Is what happened with Jonathan Majors analyzing this verdict. This is the last thing I want to talk about with you tonight because I wanted your opinion. I think you may be doing a video on it, obviously.
Or I did a live stream on it on Monday.
Oh, I didn't see it, so I have to look at it. But let's analyze this. First, I'm going to play the article. So what happened is that Majors was found guilty for reckless assault in the third degree, right? So they didn't find that he intentionally harmed Gabby. What's her last name? Gabby.
Grace Jabari.
Grace Jabari. She's a Gabby. Grace Jabari. But they said he recklessly assaulted and harassed her. I have issues, and I've talked about this on my live stream as well about it. I did a live stream on Monday, but there were some issues I had with this verdict, and there is a lousy verdict at that. And I'm speaking as a defense attorney. I'm also speaking as a black man. I don't even know Jonathan Majors personally, so I'm not necessarily defending the man or anything that he may or may have done. But Majors, this is a major screw up in our judicial system, and the guy who prosecuted him is Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg wasn't the one in the courtroom, but Alvin Bragg is the district attorney of Manhattan. They got a Stephen A. Smith type Negro. Basically, who went at this case, who prosecuted this case, knowing it was a misdemeanor, and also knowing that Grace Jabari was the woman who actually got arrested out of this incident, Shawn. They charged both of them. And typically when they have cases like that, prosecutors will end up, especially on a misdemeanor, they don't take that stuff to trial normally. A plea deal gets worked out. They may offer to drop them, especially if it's a first-time offense. A first offender will just work something out where you can do diversion, right? Or a pretrial intervention program allows you to get the charge dismissed. We'll pay you, but we'll also, and you take some classes, you can get it dismissed. They didn't offer Jonathan Majors that. They wanted to offer him, I think, maybe like a simple battery, but he'd have to admit guilt. And he's like, I'm not guilty of anything. We saw the video for ourselves. This man was last week that this man was running to get away from her. Right?
Yep.
He spent the night in a hotel, finds her passed out in their home, and calls 911 to save her, but he goes to jail. And to make a name for himself. This is Alvin Bragg. And as a result, he's been dropped from Marvel. That's Jonathan Majors. Alvin Bragg released this statement. He said that the trial illustrated a cycle of psychological and emotional abuse and escalating patterns of coercion. What? How you say that? She wasn't the one. They're making this woman out to be a victim. But she grabbed his phone. See, they try to do this all-in thing where they're going back on Jonathan from something that may or may not have happened years ago that he wasn't tried with. But that's Alvin Bragg right there.
Bootlicking Bragg, who doesn't see that it's coming for him. He's next.
I hope so.
White supremacy always breaks a toy.
Get rid of these Negroes. But let's look at the verdict. Let's go on. So he's been dropped from Marvel. This is from courtesy of Today.
Jonathan, how are you feeling today? This morning.
And he's maintained his innocence. Now, I want to say this, and I told y'all before, I think his attorneys didn't do him any favors. And I hate to judge other attorneys because I, as a lawyer myself, I don't like armchair quarterbacking something. Yes, something could have been different. But what I learned is that about the cell phone that she snatched out of his hands, they did not challenge that under New York law. They didn't challenge that she was committing a larceny. They didn't go over that with the jury, and they missed that point at the trial, according to the reports that I've read. Had they brought that up and say, hey, well, you know, she tried to take his phone and he has a right under New York law. You have a right to use something, you meet force with force to get your property back, right?
Yep.
His attorney didn't say that. Hold on, y'all. Something's wrong. Majors likely will face a year. It could face a year in prison, but usually they give them probation of some kind, especially on a misdemeanor. But
Actor Jonathan Majors, best known for his roles in Creed 3 and Marvel movies,
Paved the road.
found guilty of assault and hours later fired from the Marvel Universe. A source with direct knowledge of the decision told NBC News. A jury on Monday afternoon convicting him on 2 out of 4 charges: assault in the 3rd degree, a misdemeanor, and a harassment violation, stemming from an incident earlier this year involving his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari.
now she chased him, and he's being charged with harassment.
During the nearly 2-week trial, the actor's ex-girlfriend took the stand for several days, testifying that the actor assaulted her for grabbing his phone after she spotted a text from another woman, causing a laceration behind her ear and a fractured finger. Street surveillance footage played in court from the night in question showed Jabari getting out of an SUV and Majors picking her up and putting her back into the car. Prosecutors claimed that the actor threw her back inside the vehicle like a football, but Majors' attorney said that she was the one who assaulted him, even chasing him down the street. When the jury first began to deliberate last week, they asked the judge to replay a 911 call Majors made the morning after the assault.
Was she unconscious?
Majors telling 911 he had found an unresponsive Jabari in his apartment. Police arresting the actor after observing injuries to Jabari's head and neck. Majors, who did not take the stand, has maintained his innocence and faces up to 1 year in jail. After the verdict, his attorney saying in a statement, Mr. Majors still has faith in the process and looks forward to fully clearing his name. Now, with Majors awaiting sentencing on February 6th, the movie studios that propelled him to stardom wasting no time cutting ties.
Now, many are speculating that text messages revealed late in the trial solidified Majors' fate. The text between the former couple discussed another incident where Majors appears to try and talk Grace Jabari out of going to the hospital for a head injury. Jabari writing, "I will tell the doctor I bumped my head. Why would I want to tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you?" And now, as you know, several of these movies no longer are going to be featuring him at the helm. And Marvel, this was a huge franchise for him. So it's unclear what is going to happen.
So you see that they used something from a year ago, 2 years ago, that the police was never reported. We don't know what they're honestly, legally, from a legal standpoint, you can make implications from it, but we don't know what the hell happened. They used that to go at him. Does that sound familiar? Do we know if they tried to use some prior bad evidence against an individual?
It was Bill Cosby.
Yes. That's why you Negroes who are out here celebrating Bill Cosby being locked up, you better be shaking in your boots right now, because this gonna happen to you. If they do this to somebody that got money, they can railroad somebody like that. What do you think they're gonna do to you? They refused to use the arrest. They knew about it. They had this video as well of him running. She's grabbing him, holding him. That's an assault. Shawn, go ahead. Well, let's see.
To his once very promising future.
Yeah. Chloe, thank you. Hey, thanks for watching.
Go ahead, Shawn. I'm gonna let you talk.
Well, what happened to Jonathan Majors, sadly, was what we saw happen before with Bill Cosby, and all we saw was Alvin Bragg just take the same playbook that prosecutor in Pennsylvania go out and use to try to convict Bill Cosby on some really soft charges. And Alvin Bragg basically did this because, one, he wanted to take down a prominent black man, and two, he wanted clout in order to get a higher position in either Kathy Hochul's government or a higher position in office in New York or to get a job with the Biden administration. And this crab in a barrel basically wanted to destroy the career of Jonathan Majors to show the white supremacist paymasters that he would play ball in their court because he had no real reason to go out here and prosecute Jonathan Majors in the way that he did. And he basically took city resources to try this celebrity case instead of dealing with all of the shoplifting going here in New York and all of the violent assaults on the subway. We needed a prosecutor who would go out here and get tough on crime, but Alvin Bragg would rather go out here and chase clout. So he only wanted to go after Jonathan Majors because he wanted to elevate his career. And this whole verdict basically is one that I hope his attorneys go out here and appeal because, like Cosby, there are a lot of judicial errors here in this case as related to the way it was prosecuted. And a lot of this evidence really is questionable. And just like you pointed out, the whole case of him defending himself is a case for an appeal to overturn these convictions and is related to these so-called charges because it's clear to me that this woman, Grace Jabari, was the perpetrator in this crime. And all Alvin Bragg did was give her a pass. All he did was give Grace Jabari a pass for crimes she committed and wanted to do this again because he wanted to see a black man be destroyed and be seen as a hero in the eyes of those white supremacists on the left. Now, like Cosby, what's really troubling here is that all of this is going on in a blue state, in a blue city, and it's going on in a blue state, in a blue city that says it's tolerant to black people. But instead of being tolerant to Jonathan Majors, what Alvin Bragg has done is show how he's basically looking to play ball for team white supremacy. And that's what he's done here. But Alvin Bragg, basically, he doesn't see that his day is coming because he just cost Disney a couple of $1 billion as related to the production of their Phase 5, because now that they have to fire Jonathan Majors.
They wanted him gone, I think.
They might have wanted him gone, but he cost them money, and that's going to make them go after his political campaign in 2025. And I guarantee you, in 2025, when Alvin Bragg finds himself without political support, an opponent getting all of his money from campaign donations, he's going to rue the day that he went after Jonathan Majors because he cost this studio a bunch of money. Because you have to remember, white supremacy plays both sides of the argument and takes both sides of the argument. And while they may be out here celebrating the fall of Jonathan Majors, they are getting ready to set up Alvin Bragg for a fall because, yeah, he went out here and prosecuted Jonathan Majors, but they are going to basically use this whole case to convict him when he gets ready to run in 2025. He's not going to be the DA of New York for much longer. And this case that he's celebrating is going to be the nail in his coffin because, like Eric Adams, the cream of wheat man, they're basically going to tie him to being soft on crime and use this case against him because, as they take both sides of the argument, use this case to put him in the nail in the coffin. And I don't see Grace Jabari doing well after this because now everybody knows they can't trust her. So, yeah, Jonathan Majors got convicted in the short term, but everybody else around him is going to lose. Disney is going to lose a couple of $100 million that's related to their Phase 5 at this point. They're going to lose the black audience for the MCU. And they're also going to wind up losing as related to their overall business. And Alvin Bragg, again, is going to be losing a lot of campaign donations from a lot of these political contributors. And I just see a lot of people losing in their attempt to destroy a black man, not seeing how they're going to reap what they sow, greater than they sow, later when they sow, and they'll deserve what they get because what they did to Jonathan Majors was foul. And Jonathan Majors, again, was a guy who just didn't know how the game was run. And sadly, he could have used some advice from a guy like Bill Cosby. Maybe if he had talked to a guy like Bill Cosby, he wouldn't have wound up getting jammed up like this and winding up with his career going from being on the rise to being a star to being in a place where he's going nowhere.
Yeah. Right. You think he's going to recover from this?
I think he can recover, but he's going to have to go out here and find some small budget films to work on, start developing on some other kinds of projects, because everybody knows he didn't do anything to this woman. We see the video evidence, we see the railroad, and I believe that there are people out there who would want to work with Jonathan Majors. He's just got to go out here and swallow his pride and possibly take some lower salaries. And he can do better than these MCU movies, which are on their way out. I believe he can turn this around, but he's going to have to put that work in, and he's going to have to go out here and really put in that work, and also put in that work on his appeal, because I believe that with the appeal, all of these charges can get overturned, and we can get the truth out about this entire incident.
Yeah. We'll see what happens to him, but his career has taken a hit as a result of it.
Yeah.
He's gonna be doing Tubi movies for a while, probably.
Well, you can get a good script, you'll be all right. That MCU
Well, here's
stuff.
my thing. People are gonna keep going back to this incident. And black men, and you know this, Shawn.
I know.
They don't ever stop mentioning this. Even when Mike Tyson with his rape charge, you had that Negro reporter that brought it up in Canada like 20 years later. You know, there's a race for mayor, but you're a rapist. Like, really? You think that's a wise thing to say to Mike Tyson? Yeah.
He must have wanted to get punched out.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to Danielle, Queen Amadaya Shakur, who's here. Yeah. Well, I hope his career, he can come back. But yeah, man, this dude got railroaded. I certainly don't think he deserved what happened to him, but it is what it is. You know, and I think black men, especially up in New York, Shawn, you might want to think about moving.
No, it don't matter where you go. White supremacy is global. The whole thing
White
is
supremacy is global, but the feminist laws are not in the South. The feminists are not. This stuff that they're doing, we're seeing across the country. They're changing. It's palpable to what they did tried to do in the 60s and 70s with palimony, where they wanted to sue somebody because, you know, like what happened with Lee Marvin and even the gay musician, I think Liberace, he got sued for that once. And it's like, I was in a relationship with somebody, and when it goes south, now they want to charge me money for it. Like, no.
just gonna make it people where people just don't date anymore, and that's what's happening in New York. Men are just not approaching women. The women are sitting in a bar all by themselves, drinking themselves into stupors, and just leaving them to their own fate. I wrote about this in The Woman Crisis. I wrote that this was going to be the future, that these women were going to be left alone, and eventually they're going to become wards of the state, and the government will wind up overwhelmed by all of these women they've got to take care of, and it'll be their own karma because they were the ones who enabled the feminists to get out of control, and they can't force them on men. So whatever happens to them happens to them. You spoil these women, you give them everything, and when they can't get anything out of life but misery, they deserve the company of the government that gave it to them.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely affected dating. Yeah, but yeah, that's why a lot of men are not, it's not just dating, not marrying. Let me ask you just personal question, Shawn, and maybe you don't want to answer it. Is that the reason why don't want kids and have a relationship?
No, the reason why I did that back in the late 80s, early 90s is because a lot of the girls back then were involved with criminals and they were involved with these drug dealers, and a lot of them became single moms to these drug dealers. And I didn't want to deal with these kind of guys, so I just left the women alone because since they were involved with these criminal types, I left them to that fate. I said, look, I want to focus on the things that I want to do in life, and I don't want to put my health, safety, and freedom at risk because she's involved with a loser. I said, if this is who she picked, this is a reflection of who she is. And if this is what they like, then I'm going to leave them to that. That's why I left all those women alone back in the late 80s, because they had already made their choice, and I had to leave them to that choice that they made.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you want to tell us what I don't know if you have a topic for tomorrow.
Well, I'm pondering talking about how gangs are part of the regular forces of white supremacy, but that can change. But that might be the live stream for tomorrow. How gangs are part of the irregular forces of white supremacy.
All right. Buy Be My Baby for Christmas on iTunes, Apple, and Amazon, ladies and gentlemen. Danielle says she can't blame you one bit, Shawn.
Well, when you see them with the drug dealers, you just got to leave them alone.
You love me for my time, then pay me for my time. Hit the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. Thank you, Cheryl, for your contribution. Giving me a little Christmas stocking stuffer. And Shawn, I don't know if you have plans, what your plans will be for the holidays, but whatever you do, I wish you a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Season's greetings. We'll be in touch, obviously. I know we're not going to see each other before Christmas, so I'm saying Merry Christmas to you.
Well, Merry Christmas to you, Gavin. Have you have a happy holiday.
I hope so too, man. It's going to be warm up there. I think it's going to be cold where y'all are in New York, huh?
It's cold right now, but I'm getting through it.
No snow?
No snow yet.
Are they expecting snow?
No, nobody's expecting snow across the country.
Okay. No, that's true. I heard that it wasn't going to be like a white Christmas in parts of the country. Yeah. All right, man. Well, everyone be one, be safe, and be blessed. We will be back next Thursday. Shawn, stay on for a second.
I have to use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right. But this is another exciting episode of Random Topic Thursdays, ladies and gentlemen. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. And I'll see y'all in the next one. I'll holla. Peace. Night, guys.